How's it going, everybody? It's me, Shane, and I'm here once again to give you a Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation episode review recap. Today's episode is episode 17, entitled Reunion. And just like our reunion here, if you want to continue meeting with me every Sunday, please remember, give me a subscribe, hitting that like button, and leaving a comment as well. It doesn't hurt either. It really, really helps out. So, we're going to get right into this. And I love, this is a highlight of the Sunday or highlight of the week. It's just to get to the next Mushoku Tensei episode, and this is great because last week and I know I'm jumping all over the place, but last week we were met with, you know, father and son being reunited, but it didn't go well. Rudeus made it seem like his journey was fun and whimsical, and looks like Paul had went through a hard, was going through a rough patch. This is one of the reasons why I'm going to keep telling everyone this is the best anime of 2021. Don't care who you are, and honestly, this this anime further proves that animation is not just for children. You can have great anime that doesn't just solely do action, or kill, thrill, or any of that other stuff. You can have some really deep moments. And another thing I love about this episode is that I got some vindication, especially when it came to some of the groups, some of Mushoku Tensei Facebook groups, where people were saying Paul's not the jerk. Yes, he is. So our opening is basically Paul and Norn were just transported due to the mana calamity. And one minute they were with their whole entire family, next minute, boom, they are there. And where's there? Who the hell knows? I know they're still in the same country, in the same continent, but it's just flat plain land. And Paul is trying to figure out, what am I going to do? He's holding Norn, and Norn's like, Oto-san, father. He's like, don't worry, we're going home. Somewhere along the way, they find a nice horse, like a really nice horse. The ones with the little mane frills at the bottom of the leg. Whew, nice little stallion. Um, he did call up to Zenith, Lilia, and Aisha. So the two ladies and his other daughter. Um, and he's thinking back, man, was it that weird sky? Not only we get our what should I say, our customary intro song sung over things happening. Such a great job of showing what he went through without us having to hear a lot. We do get the sound effects of the clippity clomp and the rain. Uh, Norn is actually wrapped up in the cloak that he's been wearing. She was wearing mostly that green cloak the entire time. Green really goes good with this family. I'm not gonna lie. And that they had to sleep with inside of a tree while it's raining. He arrives to a massive crater, which I'm going to assume was the town that they came from. I'm assuming that, or it could have been Fitora, and I'm gonna come back to that later, or part of Fitora. So he goes to this church, where several episodes ago, it looks like the post where he's putting up the signs of where to find people and seeing if he found anything or seeing if he saw anything from his family. Um, the pastor there, kind of welcomed him in, and he's in that country, the country where Milius, he's in that country now. He met, Boo Plate Armor and her sister. He started meeting more and more people, but as the years went on, sometimes he smiles. He smiles with Norn, especially when Norn's around. She made him a little flowery, but we get to see the passage of time over this year and a half, because he goes from clean shaven Paul to scraggly Paul. He's getting the black circles on his eyes. He's starting to drink more and more. And, you know, it makes me feel for him, but I still said fuck Paul. And I said it because he's supposed to be a dad, and man, I love the vindication I got through this episode. I love it when I get anime right. Love it when I get a story right. But the whole intro was what he was doing is very touching, very eye-opening. Present day, he's a drunk bastard, and he's drinking. He's drinking at the bar, and suddenly who comes in? Our buddy Geese. And Geese says, hey, you should swing by the guild. It's something you might want to see later. And he's like, Why should I? He has this look on his face. And Geese is like, all right, tell me what's going on. Because, man, this another thing about this episode. This episode has given us a great MVP. And I'm just going to spoil it early. MVP is Geese. And I'll keep pointing out how he's MVP throughout my review here. So he tells him what happened with the meeting. He tells him what's wrong. He says, man, don't you think you're... Oh, no. I accidentally swiped away my notes. He tells him, don't you think you're being too rough on the kid? Another thing that's come up several times within groups or people discussing um sorry discussing what was going on with Paul and Rudeus. It's like, don't you think you're being kind of hard on the kid, right? And I gave some kudos to Geese in here because thank you, Geese. And yeah, he can cast magic without speaking incantations. And Paul's like, yeah, he's a genius. And he's like, yeah, but Paul, he's also 11. I love when people think that they understand a fantasy world. Get They celebrate ages 5, 10, and at 15 that you're considered an adult. Think about it like this: in the real world, we have two ages where people are considered adults traditionally: 18, which makes no damn fucking sense to me, and 21. Funny thing, at 18, you can apply to be drafted. You can go to the army, but you can't have a drink. Makes no damn sense. But you also legally cannot buy cigarettes either. Legally, 21, you can do all that. I say these things to you. 18, you're still a teenager, and 21, you're just breaking into what it means to be a young adult. Anybody in their right mind would tell you probably you should consider yourself a full-fledged adult around between 25 and 30. So again, let's apply that to this world where, yeah, you're an adult at 15. He's 11. Hey, Paul, what were you doing at 11? Could you have gone to a demon continent and survive alone? And this is what Geese is saying to him. And he's saying, well, he has sojourned as a bodyguard. He's like, anybody can cross like that. He's like, nah, not a chance. All the more reason, he did something I couldn't do. He's a genius. And this gave me some confliction because it shows how highly Paul thinks of Rudy. Rudy not only saved his relationship with Zenith, he's smart enough. He's a genius when it comes to magic. He can analyze situations very well. He is the shining firstborn son of their family. And this episode did highlight a lot to show how much he actually loves his son. No matter how much pressure he puts on him unfairly, he loves his boy. And Paul goes to say, is it wrong to expect a lot from talented people? And he said, yeah, you are. Could you have crossed that land? And he's like, what's your point? Okay, so this is where he's coming from. Geese crossed from the demon land. This is actually where Geese is coming from. That's where Geese is coming from, along with our guy, along with our dead end crew, right? He's saying, it's not like you guys down here in the soft central continent. You wouldn't know anything like that. It's always, late at night it's always freezing. During the day it's boiling hot. You have to kill monsters for firewood. There's no water. There's no rain, and there are monsters that are way stronger than it is here. Come on, man, you're exaggerating. And Gisa gives him the 5 fingers of understanding. In an unfamiliar land, his first adventure, he has to watch over a soup herd who may or may not turn on him at any moment. He doesn't really know this guy. Um, where am I at here? All while trying to protect a girl who he is sworn to get back to her family no matter what. Oh, and he's still a child. Well, he got to the child part on his pinky, but he's still a child. He was close to his limits. He was like, if he was close to his limits, why would he tell me all his whole journey like it's a funny tale? So you wouldn't worry, you idiot. Just so thick. He's like, so he had to worry over me because I'm a hopeless dad? Yes. I love Geese so much. Yes, you are a hopeless dad. He's like, He said, I'm a weakling who escapes by drinking. I must look pathetic to a great genius. And he's like, Paul, it doesn't take a genius to see that you're pretty pathetic right now. Paul looks the worst he's ever looked. Everyone can see it. Tons of people who watched last episode can see this is not our Paul. That's not our Paul. No matter how much of a scumbag perv he is, that's not the dude that we root for. He's a poor kid. He went from a grueling journey, finally reuniting with his father to find out his father is a scummy drunk. I'd cut ties if I were him. And that's the thing, Geese gets up, and that's the thing that makes Paul kind of snap out of it. And he says, listen, does it really matter what kind of journey he had? Isn't it great that, you're both alive and well? You should celebrate that. Or did you want him to come back dead eyed, missing some limbs? And that is the one thing that does make him just go, whoa. Geese just hits it all on the head. And I have to put in my notes, I have to say it here. For some reason, as scummy and as thick skulled and dumb as Paul is, he is able to attract the best people that can make him a better person. That is a great thing to have in a leader, which is legitimately what these group of people call him. They call him leader. That is a great thing to have in a leader type. Not just charismatic, which he can be, but he's a dumbass. But he's able to bring in people who can see a situation from a different angle better than he can. And it's like, yeah, he's a scum, but man, he's able to elicit loyalty from people. So he may be a scum, but he has morals and he has a heart. And I'll give it up to Paul for being able to do something like that. Don't know where he met Geese, don't know how he knows Geese. Maybe Geese was part of the Black Fang and we don't know it. Maybe he was part of one of his first adventuring groups. Don't know, but wow. So, um, all this stuff shocks Paul, and Geese says, think this stuff over when you're sober. And Paul's looking pretty hurt over this revelation. We have the big booby vests, the boob armor chick. I think her name is Vessa. She's tucking Norn in, and Paul gets home. He's even in the intro we saw. He always strokes his daughter's head, and she calls out to him. It was just the two of them this entire year and a half. And he touches Norn's face, and then he sees Rudy touching her cheek. He's like, "Oh man, Dad, her cheeks are pretty soft." But then he goes from seeing Rudy there to seeing Rudy on the floor, missing an arm and a leg. I wonder if that's foreshadowing. He sees him missing an arm and a leg and saying, "You couldn't find me, Dad. That's why I look like this." And he dunks his head in water. And he sees his reflection. He's like, maybe this isn't right. And yes, I felt vindication. Even wrote in my notes, vindication, because it is on the dad. Listen, guys. Yes, Rudeus. This is Isekai. So yes, Rudeus was a 30 something, I'm going to say 35, maybe 38-year-old, neat, shut in guy. But that's not who he is right now. Mentally, he's 30. Emotionally and physically, most definitely emotionally, he's a kid. And that comes up again later on in the episode. Just give me time, we'll get there. But this does fall on his father. And that's just the way it is. But at the same time, I love how adult Rudeus is going to be. Just follow me. So it's the next morning. The animation for Rudeus breaking bread. Who is able to draw that so well? Wow. Just wow. The fact that they made the studio just to have this anime, good job. So Rudy's looking sad. Eris is still pissed because she knows why he's sad. And RJ, Ruchard is just Ruchard. There's nobody in this place. And someone comes in, obviously it's Paul. And Rudy hears him. Eris sees him because Eris is sitting across where she sees. She goes up to him and says, "Who do you think you are?" "Well, I'm Paul Greyrat. I'm his dad." She's like, "I know who you are." And I love Eris so much because now at this point, Paul's like, "So you're hiding behind women now, huh? You're a playboy." And that gets a smile out of Rudy. And Eris is reading him. She's just reading him the riot act, saying, what you did to him yesterday. How bad he looked. You have some nerve coming here. Rougeard RJ, this man just picks her up one handed. Says, "Let's let them be alone." And I love it when we have like a character yelling, but that's not supposed to be our main focus. But good job with the captions today, because she's just wondering, "Hey, no, I want to talk to him. Why are you talking about yourself? Why are you carrying me off?" And um, Rougeard says to Paul, um, "Where we at yesterday?" Oh, well, one thing I will highlight, Eric says, if you saw Rudeus yesterday, no father would do that to their kid. Um, and Rudyard says, you may have your grievances, but those only matter while your son is still alive. Speaking to Paul, speaking very matter of factly. And, Paul goes, right. So he carries her out. The bartender's watching. He's the only one in here listening, paying attention to this interaction. And you know, they're both facing each other. Paul's looking up, but it's wonderful if you pay attention to these things. He is definitely Paul's kid because he has the same tics that he does. They clench their fists when it's awkward and they don't know what to do or what to say. And he's asking about RJ. He's like, he seems pretty nice. And he's like, you're not scared of him? He's like, why would I? That's silly. He saved my son. And why'd you come here, Dad? That's basically, why'd you come here? Listen, I want to apologize. What Rudy doesn't understand why he wants to apologize for, but he wants to apologize for yesterday. He says, you know what? Frankly, you don't have to. I've been treating this like a game till now. It's only natural you be mad at me. I should be apologizing for having fun all this time. And Rudy's not looking up at him. He's looking down this entire time. And even the bartender's kind of just paying attention to this whole thing. And I love the fact that now that Paul's eyes have been opened up to, how callous he was before, he can see that Rudy is lying. He can tell he's lying. He can tell that, nah, you must have been through some stuff. And he even says, I can't believe that at all. You had to have had a hard time too. And Rudy just says, nope, nope, I had it easy. And I am truly sorry that I didn't see your message. What did you write? And Paul wrote, he said that he wrote, forget about me, search the North Continent. And that's when the bartender sighs. The bartender's like, okay, all right. So what are you going to do now, Rudy? And Rudy just says, I'm going to take Eris to Fatora. And he lets him know nothing's gonna be there. The towns and all the people are just gone. And probably the Boris family's probably dead. And he didn't get to say dead, but they probably are, which we already know that Soros got the axe. But Rudy says that, well, he's still going to go there, and after that, he's going to search for Mother Lilia and the others. And they look so sad. Like, Rudy looks super sad. And as Rudy's about to get up, the bartender comes over with hot drinks. You can see the steam coming off of these cups. He's like, these are on the house. He says, son, I don't know what's going on, but at least look him in the face. And he finally looks at his father's face. His father's clean shaven face still has those bags under his eyes. Looks like bags to me, but he looks at him and he's like, I feel like I've seen that face. He says this out loud. I feel like I've seen that face before. Or he says, what do you make? You make that face you're making. And he's like, what? I don't get it. And he's kind of touching his face, kind of thinking, oh, he sees that I've shaved and that I'm. He did cut some of that ponytail too. And we get a nice little flashback to the past life that I hope we never find out what Rudy's former name was. I don't ever want to know that person's name. But Rudy, thinking back, and him and a friend were playing Guilty Gear. This dude played stick, so you play Guilty Gear on stick. You got some dexterity, boy. His friend says, man, it must be nice, being able to stay in and play games all day. I got to go to school and all that. My dad won't let me do it, but man, I wish I could. He wish he could be shut in too. And then Rudy, he was always a little husky guy. He says, cut the crap. um, you saying this because it's not your problem. And his friends trying to tell him, don't be mad, man. It's just a joke. You don't have any idea what they did to me. We have to remember that not only was he bullied, he was he wasn't just bullied. What they did to him, somebody should have went to jail. The dude was strung up like crucifix style onto the school gate and was stripped naked. And they took pictures and they messed with him. Anybody that something like that would happen to, something traumatic like that, basically, not a hate crime, but a heinous act like that, it's really no surprise why he shut himself in. And he's fighting with his friend. He's kind of choking him, and he's like, "How can he be so carefree? How can he be so upbeat? How can he be so insensitive?" And past Rudy's crying, but he says, when I calmed down, I realized I overreacted, and he was just trying his own best way to cheer me up. And he says he was going to apologize the next time his buddy came in. Sorry for the tissue. Next time his buddy came in, his friend never came back, and he never went and visited his friend. And it's probably all out of pride why he never did that. It must have been his stupid pride, he said. But he said, but Paul came back to me. And I have to say, well, one, he is your father, and two, Geese did give a nice little nudge. He went out of his way. He did go out of his way to apologize. And he says, you know what, Dad, I got a suggestion. And all the time he's thinking to himself, he's like, man, Paul is 30 this year. Around this time, he is actually 30. So he's still younger than when Rudeus in his past life had died. And Rudy is thinking to himself, you know, he never did what he should have done. He always focused on blaming others and never focused on what he should have been doing. And compared to what he was doing in his past life, Paul is doing great. And he goes and says, you know what? Let's pretend yesterday never happened. And we just reunited today, father and son, right here, right now. Let's leave it at that. And Paul's still kind of confused because he's like, wow. He's like, a lot of harsh things happened, but okay. And he said, and Rudy in his mind is thinking, but you know what? I'm not that same person I was. Which, bravo to you, dude. And he says, all right, I want you to open your arms up and kneel. And he's like, well, why? He's like, I can't run into your arms if you're standing up. And he literally does the anime run and jump into his arms and holds on, grabs onto him, and says, "Dad, Father, I missed you." And I'm getting teared up a little bit. Paul wraps his arms around him. This is when the waterworks come in, y'all. He's crying. He says, "I missed you too." And he's saying a lot more than just "I miss you too." He's saying, you know, I saw you, when you came in, and I saw you, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Um, I couldn't find you. I couldn't find anybody, and I thought you were dead, and I'm sorry. He's bawling out, and I'm bawling out watching this, and it looks like Rudy's about to cry, but Rudy closes his eyes and hugs his dad, and he says, you know what, I'm sorry too. Just, that scene got me good, y'all. That scene got me so good. Next part, we're back wherever Rudy and the crew sleep, and everybody's their items. RJ's item. Well, I think RJ has a spear, but all Eris's items is on the side. And Rudy's talking with his father, saying, "So did you have a fourth kid while I was away?" He's like, "We tried, but it didn't get there." And Rudy's like, "Man, so you're lucky. Excuse me, you are lucky to have gotten me on the first try, getting a son on the first try." And he's like, "You're just so shameless." And they have a nice little father son laugh. Eris comes in. She has the blackest eye. And Rudy's like, what the hell happened? And Ruger is like, it was pretty hard to get her to calm down. So I'm going to assume that they had some type of fight. And she's like, well, what the hell's going on? Why is he here? And he's like, we made up. She's like, the way you were yesterday, you telling me you made up? And, it's just how it is. And even RJ's like, that's just how families are. And Paul stands up and he bows to both of them. He's saying, I'm sorry about all the trouble I've caused. And RJ's like, I understand. You know, It's, you guys are made up, so it's good. And of course, Q Eris gives our tsundere response, just turns ahead, just hmm. And now they're having their second dead end meeting, and I know they're having it very very soon, but now he's saying, okay, we can actually cross over the continent now. Don't actually have to go through boat. Because now his dad gave them a letter of introduction and he gave them some money. But here's the problem, Eris. There's not much left of your homeland. And he hates to tell her this, but Philip and Soros are still missing. Ghislaine is still missing. There's a possibility that they might be. And before we can get to dead, she stands up and plainly says she was ready for that conclusion for a long time. He's like, really? She's like, yes. And Rudy says, all right, well, I want to leave tomorrow. Let's just leave tomorrow. And RJ saying, are you sure? You just got reunited with your dad. And he says, yeah, I did, but I got other family I got to search for. And while he may never see his dad again, he also may never see them again if he doesn't search for them. And he's making that a priority. RJ says, you are definitely right. Next morning, they are being seen off by Dad, Vera, and Shira. You know, Boo Plate and her sister with the. I'm assuming that's her sister with the cape, and Norn is behind her father because, of course, she doesn't like her big brother. She watched him beat up the guy that's been protecting her for a whole damn year and a half. And they're given two horses, and they're about to say their goodbyes. And Paul tells Norn, he said, say bye to your big brother. She's like, no, I don't want to. And Rudy is just, well, look, Norn, I hope we see each other again real soon. She's like, I don't want to see you. And RJ comes out, pats her on the head, rubs on her head, and says, you should cherish your siblings. Which is just, she's not frightened of him, but she's listening to him. And this is, all I'm going to say is, Shishomaru Ren. I'll leave it at that. Shishomaru Ren. That's some vibes I'm getting here. Anyway, they all say their goodbyes. They get on the horse. Eris, of course, is with Rudy as they go off. Meanwhile, here comes Geese, and Geese throws a pack in. He's like, so you made up and you talked to him. That's good. And he says, well, Geese, I owe you one. He's like, nah, it's fine. So where are you going now? He's like, I'm going to the Great Forest and Barrett next. No one's looked there, right? And Paul goes, wait, are you? He's like, all right, so I'll see you later. And Geese has this look of realization. And this might fly over your heads, especially because I can't do this scene justice. Geese has been looking for Paul's family. Geese has this entire time has been looking for his family, and the fact that Geese was able, once talking to Rudeus, knew that's who his dad was. They would say, "Cool, he's doing what Roxy messed up and couldn't do." Tisk, tisky, tisk, tisk, tisk. But hey, everybody needs a Geese. That dude is ride or die. I hope nothing ever happens to Geese. I don't know if anything happens to him, but please, I hope nothing happens to Geese. So Paul smacks himself on the face, talks to Vera chest plate, and says, "Effective today, we're changing our plans. Get everybody and get everything ready for a meeting. Looks like we got our old Paul back, and this is much much better. Next episode, it's gonna be called Separate Ways. I'm not ready for Dead End to split up. I hope this isn't like them. I hope this isn't them like like the episode's called actually splitting up. I don't think I can handle that. But yeah, so let me run through some notes real quick. And I understand this is a little bit longer than how I normally do this, but is Geese a secret badass? Like, dude went to the demon country to look for dude's family because that's a place no one's been. Now he's going to another area to help find more of his family and more other people. Wow. And he's doing this shit solo. I think Geese is a secret badass. My point number 2 was vindication. It feels so good to be right about Paul, but at the same time, I'm so happy that I was also right about the kind of character he was. Once he realized what he did was really, it's his son, 11-year-old son. And guys, it doesn't matter if mentally, if your thought process is that of an adult, there's lots of children out there in the real world who can think on the level of an adult, but you're emotionally still a child. You are going to have child ways and you are going to have limits. That's just how it is. Look up child geniuses, people. Just don't get too ahead of yourself because this is an anime. This is actually a very, I keep telling you, it's an adult anime. And it's an adult anime for a reason. Number three, I love the fact that Rudy saw himself and his father. And it kind of makes sense that he was reborn in this family. He has a father who has shortcomings that he also has had and does have now, but he's able to think and work through these things, which makes it they're the best possible family for one another. You know, Someone who's able to get a second chance on life and be able to say, okay, I'm not going to do these mistakes again and help his family along the way. Perfect. This is one of the best episodes, and it's one of the best episodes because of what led us to this crescendo. I'm talking about Rudy. I'm talking about, the smuggling, the get in the eye, having to fight the smugglers and save the beast people, being stuck in the village, getting to his dad, having to fight with his dad, having his sister hate him, and just getting to that height of that hug and the tears. This was a really great crescendo. Episode uh, 17, one of my favorites. I don't know if I want to go through that crying scene again, but it's so good. I love it when an anime gives me so much to talk about, especially given that this is all character development and character growth. But the sadness is not over. We still got to find Aisha, Lilia, and Zenith. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can find Ghislaine too. I hope she's not dead. Hopefully separate ways does not hopefully separate ways does not leave us all sad because we're on a high. We can only either go higher or start to go back down again. But please let me know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below. I I really appreciate your input. Tell me how wrong I am for being mad at Paul. I'm not gonna believe you, but tell me how wrong I am. I want to hear from you guys. As always, leave a like. I already asked you for your comments, so subscribe if you're new here. But if you aren't new here, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of more of these videos. We do these every Sunday. As always, share the video so others can see what a great time we're having. And I, as always, appreciate every last one of you for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about such a great show. As always, be good, be blessed. Wash your hands, wear your mask, be good to yourself, be good to others. Either way it goes, don't be a jerk. There's always someone there for you. All you got to do is just reach out to them. And I will most definitely see you all next time.